So today I'm exploring letting go, and it's come to mind because of, well, something that just really arose for me this morning as I was awake again at 4 o'clock in the morning and really seeing what was holding me awake, I suppose, in terms of where my mind likes to go in life. And my fiance and I go for a walk in the morning, and we went for the walk this morning. And I was talking about how at some point this morning, when I was wanting to go back to sleep at 4 a.m., I just noticed how my mind was caught up in creating so many problems that don't exist. Oh, can anybody else relate to that at all? Am I on my own? Please tell me I'm not on my own. I know I'm not on my own. Just churning away. Now, I love to solve problems. It's like something I love to do. I love to do it. I particularly like to do it in business. Yeah, I love the business mentoring side of what I do is often about helping business owners to solve problems, and I love strategic things, and I like going, oh yeah, I can see how that would work. I even like it with, like, when we've done work in the van, working out how to make something be repaired in the best way or built in the best way or whatever. I love to solve a problem, and I sometimes think my mind, when it's awake at 4 a.m., is just like, well, can we see if we've got some problems to solve? Even if it just goes off into this just random things that it makes up that just have no scope in reality whatsoever. It's just my mind making them up and then trying to solve them. And it just really came to me this morning. And I found myself, and I find that this is something I do when I'm wanting to go back to sleep, is just finding a kind of something to chant in my head, almost to just distract my mind from this ridiculous game it loves to play. I can sometimes just watch the thoughts and notice them and not be judgmental, but so often it is almost like, well, come and look over here at something else, mind. Like, and this morning I just found myself chanting "Let go," in time with my breath. Sometimes I sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" in my sleep, in my head, not out loud. My poor fiance, why are you singing in the middle of the night? Um, and sometimes I just sort of do in and out with my breath. And today it would just let go in time to my breath, and I just found myself repeating that. And what came to mind was that at some point when we're kind of holding something that isn't helpful to us in our thinking, it occurs to let go. Now, what we often think we've got to do is do the letting go, do it, make it happen, make ourselves let go. But that isn't really, it's not really how it works. I have a course on Insight Timer that's called Beyond Just Accept It, because I think that too can be a thing that we think we've got to do. We've got to accept something. And letting go is very similar. Why will we let go of a train of thought? Well, when we realize that a number of things about that train of thought. So when we realize that thoughts are not ours to control, we can be in that place of watching them like clouds going across the sky. We don't have to believe our thoughts. We can. The suffering really comes from the belief. For me this morning, I was thinking about something quite upsetting in a way, and how I would deal with that if it happened, and it was just ridiculous, really. And the letting go was a consequence of seeing that the thinking was rubbish and unhelpful. It was like, it's like if you pick up something hot, At what point are you going to let that go, realizing that it's burning you? And the thing about that is, my inability to get back to sleep, the fact that my body started to feel tense and therefore getting back to sleep is more difficult, was because I was holding on to some really silly thinking about something that wasn't really very helpful, wasn't to do with the present moment. And sometimes for me, that sort of focus on the breath and saying a little phrase in my head just helps me to just come back into the present moment. Sometimes for me, it's just noticing the feeling in the body, because that too, the body doesn't time travel, that too can bring us back, grounded back into the present moment, when we just be with what's occurring in the body. And that could be, if it's in the night for you, it could be noticing the tension that's coming up in your body because you stirred up in your mind. Or it could be that you notice your breath, or you have some kind of sing twinkle twinkle little star in your head, which is apparently what I do, or whatever it is. You do what makes sense, but the letting go, if you kind of think about it, the letting go is a thing to do. I'm sure you've heard some spiritual teacher or others just say, well, just let go of that. You feel like getting them by the neck. Just me then. You feel like saying, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to let go. Well, because you don't, because it's not a thing for you to do. It's a thing that happens when you see that you're holding on to something that's hurting you, that's creating discomfort in your body, that's making you feel very uncomfortable, that's just there. At that point, you let go. And that's where the three principles is so powerful, because it's where we're focusing our attention. It's where, it's consciousness that's bringing all of this to life. And there is something about, I guess for me, breathing in, and breathing out, go, is just helping me to let go of that which is hurting me, because that's the only thing that ever is hurting us, is thought in the moment. And we let go of that when we see that that's what's happening, that we're holding on to something that is causing us suffering. Just like letting go of a hot thing. Of course, as soon as it starts to burn, we let go of it. The trouble is that quite often we don't necessarily see the emotional side of that is the helpful part of it. That's the gift. That's the clever system that you have that is there to say, you know how you feel really awful because you're thinking about these particular things. Maybe they're not cool things to think about. Maybe they're not helpful things to think about. And so maybe there's like a little invitation here to just notice, where does your mind go repeatedly? What kind of thinking? I have a couple of people in my life who I think I would like to fix. Yeah, I really do wish they would stop doing what they're doing a lot of the time. And I sometimes have to just, I notice I'm going there, notice my energy starting to sag. I notice that I start to feel I'm in a low mood. I don't feel like doing things. I can notice how that kind of squishes me down. And sometimes it still looks like they need to stop doing the thing for me to be okay. But sometimes I see to let go, to stop engaging with that. And maybe there's something in your life that has a similar. Often these things are very repetitive, very habitual, because that's part of why they're there. We've just got stuck in a bit of a rut. Letting go isn't an effort, and it isn't a thing to do, and it doesn't need any extra thinking or any extra doing once you see thought for what it really is, and you see that thought is what's creating the suffering. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that helps you to let go, but don't see it as something that you need to do. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Let me know what you think. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.